Hi, I'm Gregg Behr, Executive Director for the Gregg Behr Foundation, and also co-chair for Remake Learning. In our forever changed educational landscape, we can shape what comes next to make learning more relevant, more engaging, and more equitable. We can choose either to limit ourselves or to pursue limitless possibilities.
This is where it starts, where learning starts. Creativity, complexity, talent. This is where innovation starts. It starts right here, in our libraries, our museums, our communities, in our schools. This is where the future starts.
I turn often to the words of Pittsburgh's own Mr. Rogers for guidance. One of the greatest dignities of humankind, he once said, is that each successive generation is invested in the welfare of each new generation. For nearly 15 years, the thousands of educators and learning allies who compose Remake Learning have been igniting experiences that are relevant, engaging, and equitable in support of young people navigating rapid social and technological change. Earlier this year, on 143 Day, Remake Learning launched a campaign called Tomorrow. It's a campaign that calls us to forge a future where each day holds promise for every learner, where youth, families, and educators connect timeless ideas and new ways of learning to prepare for what comes next, no matter what tomorrow might bring. At its core, Tomorrow asks us to remake our tomorrows so that all young people will flourish.
You've probably been thinking about the future a lot lately. About how our world is changing. About whether a robot could do your job. About how the way you get to work, or shop for food, or unwind at the end of the day is changing. About what kind of a world future generations will inherit. We've made it through uncertain tomorrows before. That's because we've never stopped wondering, and we've never given up hope. Today, we know more than we ever have. About how to solve problems. About how our brains develop. About how to stay grounded in what makes us human while exploring the frontiers of what humans can make. The future holds tremendous promise. Promise that we can find the potential inside any learner. Promise that together we can nurture that potential in each and every child. Promise that we can let loose the brilliance of an entire generation. That future is closer than you think. But to make a better tomorrow, we have to act today. Let's forge a future that holds promise for every young person. Let's connect timeless ideas with new ways of learning. Let's prepare for what comes next, no matter what tomorrow brings. Learn more at remakelearning.org/tomorrow.
What you're doing, what we're doing to prepare for what comes next isn't merely aspirational. It's deeply personal for each of us.
And for us, our new frontiers will either be barriers for our kids and their peers across generations, or our new frontiers will be doorways to wondrous and prosperous futures.
So let's ask our kids. Catherine and Caroline, here we are at the beautiful Pittsburgh Botanic Garden. What do you love about coming to a place like this?
The stepping stones and the fairy houses.
The stepping stones and the fairy houses. I love the fairy house. What do you love, Catherine?
I like walking through the woods.
You love walking through the woods. And have you noticed something about the leaves in the woods right now?
They're changing colors.
They're red and orange and yellow. Do you have any clue why they change colors, Caroline?
In the leaves there are these lines, and I think they change colors because it's getting colder and hotter.
Oh yeah? And do you think those leaves and those trees, do you think they're breathing the same air and drinking the same water that we're drinking?
Mm-hmm.
And we want that air and that water to be clean, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think we can keep that air and that clean water for the trees and for you and me? What would you do?
There's a machine, and it gets a lot of water. It takes out all the leaves, and it gets out all the dirty water. It pours it in a bucket over a tree, and then it dumps it.
You would make that machine? That's pretty cool.
I like that.
I would make a machine on top of like someone's roof. It would collect rainwater that comes, and then it would go through a machine that makes the water clean, and then it's ready to go into showers, sinks, or bathtubs.
You two are amazing makers. Speaking of making things, do you remember those exhibits that we saw here at the garden? Do you know they were made by the same people who make the exhibits at the Children's Museum of Pittsburgh? No. Do you love the Children's Museum?
Yes.
And how about the Carnegie Science Center?
Yes.
What do you love about museums? Tell Mommy and Daddy something that you've learned when we've gone to a museum.
I've learned how astronauts live in space.
How do astronauts live in space? What did you learn about that?
I learned how they go to the potty.
How they go to the potty.
Well, that's important.
Where do you think their body goes? Do they flush it out into space?
Maybe, or they save it and take it back to Earth and then dump it out.
Which is probably a better idea, don't you think? What's something you've learned, Caroline?
That you get some sunscreen and you put it under a black light and then you see how sunscreen works.
Yeah, that was a really fun exhibit, wasn't it? We put sunscreen on one hand and we didn't put it on the other hand, and we put it underneath a light and we could see how it blocks the sun rays that aren't good for your skin. That was great.
All right, I've got a question for you. If you could solve a great big problem in this world, or you could figure something out, what's something that you'd like to figure out and solve?
Figure out how to breathe underwater.
How to breathe underwater? You? How would you do that?
Maybe get something filled with the air, and then it would be like a backpack, and there would be strings you would put over your, and then there would be these goggles what you could breathe in, but they're just longer, and they would go around your ears and around your eyes, and that's how I would make it.
That sounds incredible.
Can I go explore underwater with you?
Catherine, is there something that you'd like to solve?
I'd like to know how to make medicine for people,
How to make medicine? Why is that so important?
so then people can be healthy.
And what are the things we need to do to be healthy?
You need to sleep,
Yep.
wash hands,
Yep.
exercise, and eat healthy food.
Those are all such great ideas. Now, if you two had a chance to sit down with a scientist or someone who makes technology and makes amazing things, what's something that you would ask him or her?
How do you do experiments?
How do you do experiments? That's a great question.
It's a good one.
How do you make toys out of plastic?
How do you make toys out of plastic?
How do you shape them and all that stuff?
Oh, such great questions. You two have such amazing questions and amazing ideas, and your mommy and daddy are so proud of you. Keep asking all sorts of questions. Never stop asking them. We're so proud of who you are. And we're so grateful to all of you for the opportunities that you're creating for our kids and so many others. You're creating relevant, engaging, and equitable learning opportunities for kids all across this country and for kids and families all across this world. This is how we will remake learning. This is how we'll remake tomorrow. Thank you for the work that you do.